car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Yep, that's what we're going to be talking about. Low overhead country, better known as Frontier Motors. This is the Frontier Motors Show here on Talk at 10 on News Talk 1370 WCOA Pensacola. Thank you for joining us. Iven Streckel, the owner of that fine establishment, has joined us as well. He will be ready, willing, and more than able to take any phone inquiries from you. Let's say you want to get the price of a car or a truck or an SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. That's just one of the questions that he can answer when you dial 478-3116 for the remainder of this half hour, 478-3116. So give us a call. I will see that Ivan personally answers your question. Good morning, Ivan.
Hey, Don, thank you so much for the introduction. And this is a special show. And what I mean by that is this is not only the 1370 AM radio show that we do on a weekly basis. This is also being videotaped for our satellite and our cable subscribers. So if you're watching this on TV, it's probably not live because I'm doing this in the morning. You're probably watching this sometime in the afternoon or evening. But this is the Frontier Motor Show. And for the next half hour, we're going to talk about cars. And like Don said, that one of the things I can help the people in the Pensacola area with is give you advice on what your car might be worth, whether you're going to sell that car yourself or whether you're going to trade it in or whether you just want to know. Also, what if you want to buy a brand new car? What should you pay for that brand new car? Which car is a good car, bad car? So this, even though this is called the Frontier Motor Show, it's not just about Frontier Motors and what we do different in the Pensacola area to hopefully get a shot at your business when you are ready, but it's to let you know that there's a dealership in Pensacola that's willing to sit down with you, whether you're buying a car from us or not, and give you advice. And sometimes it can be something as simple as a diminished value advice. And if you don't know what that is, the diminished value is what your car is worth after somebody hit your car. In other words, somebody runs a red light, slams in your car, it's completely their fault. The insurance company fixes your car, but now on the history report, it says major damage reported, and you're about to trade that car in. That car has now been diminished in value because no matter who's going to buy that car is going to want a bargain on it, because why would somebody buy a car that's been in a major accident versus one that hasn't been? Well, there's only one reason I can think of it, because it's less expensive. How do you get less expensive? You get some money from the other person's insurance company called diminished value. And we help people with diminished value every day of the week except for Sunday. We're open Monday through Saturday, 6 o'clock at night and 4 o'clock on Saturday. Now, what else we can help you with? I've got the new car cost guides. If you read Consumers Reports, I've got a lot of Consumers Reports laying around right here that I bring to the radio show. But if you read Consumers Reports, on the back of Consumers Reports, they sell invoices for $15 for one car. I subscribe to the invoice book so I can let you know what the dealer cost is on any new car out there. And that's for the person that is going to buy a brand new car if I can't talk you out of buying maybe a 1-year-old car. And that leads me into one other thing called depreciation. Depreciation is what happens when you buy a car and you sell it. You don't lose any money. It's just like a stock. A stock is only worth what you're going to sell it for. Well, if you're buying a car, I've got the Consumers Reports right here. Let me grab it. Last year, it said that, this is in April's edition last year, Consumers Reports finally put in writing what we've been talking about on this radio show for the last 20 years. And it says the average transaction price of a brand new car last year was $34,000. So last year, if you bought that brand new car, the average was $34,000. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. A lot of them are way more than that. And there's some of them like maybe a Ford Fiesta or Chevy Sonic or a Spark that was quite a bit less than that. But the average was $34,000. I actually found that lower than what I thought it would be. I thought it would be quite a bit higher than that. The first year, your depreciation, according to Consumers Report, is 27% or $9,200. 27% depreciating in the first year alone. 37% after year 2, so another 10% in the second year. Then 46% after 3 years. After 4 years, the value of that car has dwindled by 56%. So one thing I don't know, and Don, maybe you can help me with this, is why did 17.5 million people buy brand new cars last year? When I go on this radio show and I tell them consistently, don't do that. And
Right.
they still, 17.5 million people still bought brand new cars.
Well, maybe they have more money than they need.
I think that must be
Yeah.
it.
Because it's clearly obvious to the rest of us, based on what you've told us for many years now, that a significant savings can be had if you can take advantage of that depreciation.
I can't figure it out, Don. Here, there's an article in Automotive News, in last month's Automotive News. It says the average transaction price in October for a Chevy or a GMC full-size SUV, whether it be a Suburban or a Tahoe, the average transaction price, and this is not the list price, was $56,600. And the article starts with GM rides high with big SUV sales in October. The SUV sales for Chevrolet and GMC were up 27% for the Yukon and 61% for the Tahoe, with the average selling price being $56,000.
Wow.
Now, Don, if you add the taxes and the dock fee and the tag to $56,000, you're at $60,000. If you wanted one of these vehicles and you put down $10,000 in cash, which, by the way, a lot of people don't have,
Right.
but let's assume you've got $10,000 saved up. I calculated the payment in my calculator. Your payments for 72 months are still $802 a month.
That's 6 years.
That's 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm not shortening it up to make it look like
Right,
there's a lot.
right.
I'm not going 3 years. I'm talking about if you go 6 years out, which is 72 months, the payment's $802.93. That's after you put $10,000 down. I don't know where everybody's getting this money. Don, is everybody winning the lottery?
I don't think so. But if you have, by all means, give us a call. Ivan would be pleased to give you a price on a car or a truck or an SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. You can reach us for the remainder of this half hour on this edition of Talk at 10. It's the Frontier Motor Show on News Talk 1370 WCOA by dialing 478-3116, 478-3116. Don't forget they're located, Frontier Motors is, at 230 Beverly Parkway, just across Highway 29 if you go west on what was Brent Lane but becomes magically Beverly Parkway. They're on the right-hand side where that big fiberglass Buffalo is. You could always call the dealership. You can go online. If you want to call the dealership, they're 436-8080. Otherwise, call us, 478-3116.
Another interesting statistic is that the F-150 is the number one selling vehicle this year so far, and that's not news. It's been for the last 20 years since I've been doing this show. Number 2 is a Chevy pickup. Number 3 is a Ram pickup truck. And I find that very interesting based on the fact that these are all very expensive vehicles, and they're number 1 and 2 and 3 selling vehicles in the whole United States. After that, you got a bunch of imports. You got the Camry, the Corolla, the Civic, the RAV4, the Honda CR-V, and the Honda Accord and the Nissan Rogue. Very interesting that all the other ones are somewhat gas miser type vehicles, but the top 3 selling vehicles are gas guzzlers, and also probably twice expensive as the rest of them. It's not impossible to find an F-150, a 150 without a diesel motor, at $60,000. The base price of a truck these days, a Strippo, is $40,000.
Wow.
So I'm trying to figure out, and these are the number 1, 2, and 3 selling vehicles. I mean, there's people driving, every time you look around, somebody's driving a brand new pickup truck.
Oh, sure.
It's a $60,000 or a $50,000 truck. It's very, very interesting that these vehicles are selling brand new. But what we specialize in at Frontier Motors is the alternative to new. And what we've been talking about for years and years and years is why not have somebody else take the depreciation? That first year is critical. Why not buy a 1-year-old car at Frontier Motors and save $1,000? Now, the average depreciation is $9,200. You're not going to save $9,200 on the average, because then I won't make any money. So even if I buy that car at the auction, $9,200 less being 1 year old than a brand new one, even if I marked it up $2,000 or $3,000, which is not doing any favors, making me a lot of money, you would still be saving $6,000 or $7,000. Even if I marked it up only $1,000, you'd save $8,200 on the average. Now, not every car is going to save that much money. I've got a Toyota Corolla on the lot with 30 miles on it. It's a Corolla that's just about as new as you can get with 30 miles on. That one's only going to save you about $3,000 over the price of a brand new one. Only has 30 miles on. Now, if that vehicle had 12,000 or 15,000 miles, which is the one you average, it would be more like about a $5,000 savings. We have an Nissan Rogue with 100 miles on it. We have an F-150 with 300 miles on it. We have a Dodge Challenger with 1,600 miles on it. And I can go on and on about the vehicles that we have on the lot that are the exact alternative to a new, but they still look and smell like new. Obviously, they still have the full factory warranty other than how old they are. For example, if the vehicle is 2 months old, if it's got a 48-month warranty, you're going to lose 2 months of warranty. If it's got 1,000 miles on it, if the warranty is 36,000 miles, you can lose 1,000 miles of warranty. But a lot of people would give up a little bit of warranty to save $5,000 or $6,000, and that's what this whole thing is about. Now, there's other ways that we can help you. And the other thing that we can do is if you are one of the 17.5 million people that I can't talk out of buying a new car, and you've decided that's what I'm going to do, I've worked really, really hard, I saved all my money, or I just won the lottery, or daddy just died and gave you a bunch of money and you're just loaded and you're going to buy a brand new one, go ahead and do that. But come to us for the advice on what that new one costs the car dealership. That might give you an idea of what you should pay. If you know what they paid, that might be helpful. The other thing is also, they should be appraising your car for? In other words, if you toss them the keys and the appraiser takes it over to the other building, you know how that works. Most car dealerships have, they have the used car area in a different, sometimes in the back. They don't want to be seen with the new car guys with the suits and ties on, and the multi-million-dollar facility. The used car guys is usually a little shack out in the back, and that's where they go and get your car appraised. So they're gone for half an hour. They come back and they tell you, I'm going to give you $10,000 for your car off of the price of this car, and you're going to say, no, that's not going to work, because I was at Frontier Motors and I talked to their sales manager, and they said that even without buying a car from them, they would give me $12,000 for that car. I'm spending a bunch of money with you guys. You should give me more than that. And that's what this whole thing's about. I've got multitude of people come back in and say, Ivan, at work, you helped me get a good deal. And the reason we do this, folks, is number one, sometimes I end up with that trade-in. I would rather get a local trade-in from you than have to buy it from a stranger at the auction. So I always advertise that if you're going to trade in a car, or you're going to sell it, or maybe you inherited a car, or maybe you got a company car, so now you've got this vehicle that's sitting in the driveway, and guess what happens? According to Consumers Reports, it depreciates quite rapidly. When we're talking about 27% in the first year, that equates to me like over 2% a month, which is quite a bit. 2% a month on a $30,000 car ends up adding up very fast. So what do? You stop in at Frontier Motors, or you just call. Give us the ID number for the car with the equipment and the mileage. And within minutes, I can tell you what I'll write a check for that car, less any reconditioning. People always say, well, how can you do that without seeing the car? Well, if you've got a 2014 Chevy Sonic with 27,000 miles on it, I don't have no problem giving you a price on that car without seeing it. If something's wrong with the car, we would just take that off of whatever figure I'm giving you. So if you bring it to me with 27,000 miles, it has original tires and it needs brand new tires because they're worn out, obviously I would deduct for that. But if the tires are good and there's no issues with it, we would go ahead and write you a check for that dollar amount. And we buy a lot of cars from private individuals that are not buying anything from us, but that are just disposing of their vehicle. Maybe they're doing the Dave Ramsey thing and they want to get out of debt. So they might have a balance left on their car. They're trying to get rid of that car payment. Maybe they were foolish enough to buy that brand new SUV that I just talked about, that even after you put $10,000 down, so you're not upside down, you're still paying $802 a month for 72 months. And you said, what was I thinking? So you do the Dave Ramsey thing. You come to Frontier Motors and say, I need to get rid of this $800 payment. What will you pay me? And obviously, you're probably going to lose your down payment, because in 1 year, if the depreciation is 27% on a $56,000 car, I don't have my calculator, but that sure sounds like an awful lot of money. If 10% is $5,600, 20% would be over $11,000. So 27% is going to be like around $16,000 that you're going to lose in the first year alone on that Chevy Tahoe or Suburban. Now, I happen to have 2016 model Suburbans, Yukons, and Tahoes on the lot that I can save you that kind of money on over a brand new one. So if you're the one out there that's still got that itch for the new one, before you sign the bottom line, you pop in at Frontier Motors and let's see how much we can save you. And right behind them is Toyota. If you don't know this, Lexus is Toyota's Highline division. And just like Infiniti is Nissan's Highline division and Acura is Honda's Highline division. And now, by the way, Genesis is now Hyundai's Highline division. They just started coming out with the Genesis Highline. But Toyota's number 2. The first time ever, good for them. Buick, the only domestic to make the top 8. Buick was number 3. Last year they were ranked number 4. This year, the number 3. We're lucky enough to have a Buick dealership right here on 29. Vince Webb's Buick is right up the road. I keep wanting to say Buick, Cadillac, and Pontiac. Well, you can scratch the Pontiac off. Mm-hmm. I'm a Pontiac fanatic because I worked for Pontiac for over 20 years. So I was crying when they dropped the Pontiac.
Sad day. I've owned plenty of them.
Yeah, and I didn't care about Oldsmobile at all, but Pontiac put a tear down my face. Anyways, Buick is number 3, which is really, really good for them. Audi was behind them. And Audi was number 4. And I remember years ago, Audi wasn't that good of a car. Always loved the car. Beautiful cars. Drive great. But they weren't the best reliable cars on the earth. Guess what? They're back on top at number 4. Kia, number 5. Mazda, number 6. Mazda. Where does that come from? How does Mazda beat Infiniti, BMW, Honda, Acura, Nissan, Porsche? How does Mazda beat all these? And what I'm getting at, folks, is think of a Mazda when you're thinking about buying a Camry or an Accord. Everybody always says, well, I got to buy a Honda or a Toyota if it's a used car. No, you don't. There are lots of good used cars out there, including a lot of domestics like the Ford Fusion, the Chevy Sonic, the Impala, the Malibu, that rival almost any of the import brands. And Honda, by the way, has fallen down. Honda is number 10th. Hyundai, number 7. Infiniti, number 8. BMW, number 9. BMW's made a comeback. And the reason I say that is because BMW also are in that category of I do not rate them as a very reliable car, but they're making a comeback. So I think that's great that they're inching up. They're two points ahead of last year. Then Honda, Subaru, Acura, Nissan, Mini Cooper, Chevrolet, Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, and Ford. And this is based on reliability, predicted reliability. So we're talking about, the reason I'm bringing this up all the time, folks, is because what are you looking for when you're thinking about buying a car? People always ask me, what would I buy if I was going to buy a used car? And I said, well, number 1 is personal preference. Some people like sporty cars. My wife today said, I got to do a bunch of shopping. I got to do some decorating. I need a minivan. Well, that might not be what you want, but that's what she wants. And she wants either a Chrysler or the Dodge because she wants the stow and go feature. So if you were to ask her, well, what car would you buy right now? She'd probably say, I buy a Town & Country or a Dodge Grand Caravan, for the simple reason that all the seats, except for the front 2, fold flat into the floor. Honda and Toyotas don't. Only the third seat folds down. So there's all kinds of reasons of why people buy a certain particular vehicle. I like Corvettes, for example, because I like a sporty car, but the person that has 3 kids is going to say, I'm not getting no Corvette. I need a SUV or a Suburban or something like that. And so there's something for everybody. The nice thing about being an independent dealer that's different than being a franchise dealer is that we sell all makes and models. No franchise dealers do that. Even the mega stores don't have every make and model. So if you're working with a Chevrolet dealership, what are they going to tell you about their product? Well, that's the best product in the world. And then you go across the street to the Ford dealership, and boy, that guy's gone to school. He knows what he's talking about, and he can shoot the Chevy down every single time. And you better not go over to Honda, because everybody knows they think they're number 1 in Toyota. Forget about that. They've been number 1 and 2 forever. Well, Frontier Motors, we have them all lined up. So you can just pick and choose. What we say is immaterial. Here's the keys, go drive it. Here's the price differentiation between all of these models. A lot of times they're very close, and sometimes because of resale value, and I'll give you an example. You can buy a Mazda, which is rated higher for reliability than a Honda, but you can buy it cheaper because they don't have the same resale value. Honda has a higher resale value, and you might think that's really good. Well, it's really not that good. Because if you're going to buy a used car, you got to pay more money for the Honda. But yet they make the Mazda, and they actually say in Consumers Reports the Mazda's got better reliability than the Honda. But people had that perception that the Honda's better. So what I'm getting at is if you're thinking about buying a mid-sized car, the Mazda 626, maybe the Mazda 3, there's a lot of Mazdas that are really, really good. They got a great warranty, and they drive just as good as any of the other Highline. When I say Highline, I'm talking about reliability, which would be the Honda and the Toyota. Lexus is kind of a different breed. They're more expensive, different suspension, and I really like selling the Lexus products being a used car dealer because I never, ever have a customer complaint. Nobody ever comes back and says, man, I wish I wouldn't have bought that Lexus because this and this and this is wrong with it. And I'm not saying that every car is perfect, but because there can be cars that break down. I noticed that when I was in Orlando, actually I wasn't, my bio goes to Orlando, but I noticed that I pulled up a couple Lexuses, this was about 4 months ago in Orlando, that were for sale, but they have a little red light on. When the auction has a red light on, that means they're selling them as is. And I'm thinking like, what? How come they're selling this Lexus as is? It was a brand new Lexus, like a 16 model with 500 miles on it. And the reason they were doing that, because it was a lemon law buyback. Now, Lexus, as I just told you, is rated number 1. Well, how can there be any lemons? Because if you have 1 out of 100 that's bad, what does that equate to? Out of 1,000 cars, that means you got 10 bad ones. So what happens with those is they go to the auction, they're sold under the red light, and they call them manufacturer's repurchase. Now, manufacturer's repurchase is a fancy name for lemon, if you don't know that. And now a lot of these so-called lemons are fixed. There's no problems with them. I don't deal in cars like that. There's some dealerships that buy cars like that on purpose because they're a bargain. And that's why also some dealerships will go out and buy cars that have been in wreck because you can buy them cheaper. So it just makes more sense. Don, do we have a call?
Well, no, we did, but it was just one of your regular customers reminding you. Bob called in that he's still driving the truck he got from you in 2006.
Oh, my
I believe
goodness.
this is 2016, isn't it? Time
Still
for him to
on
go
the
trade
road.
that in, buy about 2 or 3 more, isn't it?
You know, the funny thing is, Don, the average vehicle on the road right now
Right.
is 11.2 years. So now if he bought that vehicle and it was 1 year old
Right,
when he bought it, he's had it for 10 years.
right.
That's time to get rid of it. It's 11.2
Here
years
it
old.
is. And you're listening to the Frontier Motor Show here on Talk at 10 on News Talk 1370 WCOA. We'd be glad to take a phone call from you. You want to get the price of a car or a truck or an SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in, call us. But get on with it because we're getting down to about 6 minutes left in today's show. Iven Streckel with Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway is with us. You can be, too, by phone. You can join us online. You can go by Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway. We'd be happy to hear from you, regardless, as we continue here on News Talk 1370 WCOA.
I also should mention that we have our first Tesla that we just purchased, and we have a P85, which is their best car they make with the longest battery life. It goes about 250 miles on one charge, and it's probably the coolest car that I've ever driven. We have a lot of cool cars at Frontier Motors. We've had Rolls Royce, we've had Bentleys, we have had all kinds of fancy cars. But this Tesla pretty much trumps them all. It's a 13 model P85 with 11,000 miles on it. It's pearl white. So if you know anybody interested in a Tesla, I think we've got the only one that's for sale in our area. Don, do we have a call?
This is Bob.
Hey, Bob, thanks for calling the Frontier Motor Show. How can we help you?
Yeah, actually, that truck was 4 years old when I got it. It's a 2002 Tacoma with a 5-speed with a 4-cylinder engine. It's a popular truck, with the extended cab.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get it repainted. Just put new tires on it. It runs great.
I think it's time to trade it, Bob. I think if it's 4 years old and you bought it 10 years ago, that makes it 14 years old. I think it's time to trade it. Don't put that paint job on there. Well, I'm glad that you have you had really good luck with that Tacoma?
I have only had to replace the air fuel sensor. That's it.
And that's it.
I mean,
That's phenomenal.
How many miles did you say, Bob?
Well, I've got 80, almost pushing 90,000 on it.
Oh, that's
so you
nothing.
don't. That's
barely,
nothing.
It's barely
Yeah.
broke in.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's pretty good. Well, thanks for calling, Bob. Thanks for calling the show, Bob. I appreciate it. And thanks for being a customer. Hopefully, when you are ready, you'll pop back in and we'll work out a deal.
Well, anybody I know that needs a vehicle, I always send them to you.
Well, that's great. Thanks for the compliment. Thanks for calling. I appreciate that. And I don't know if I remember saying this on the last show, but we did a survey about 2 years ago, Don, where we took 2 months and we made sure that we talked to every single customer to find out how they heard about us. And 71% of the customers were repeat or referrals, which doesn't sound like that's not that big of a deal if you're a new car dealership, because it's easy to be a a hero when you're selling brand new cars because there's no scratches, no dings, no nothing. They're not supposed to be breaking. That's why you buy a brand new car, because it's not going to break. So you buy that car, you have good luck with it, you go back and buy another one. So for a new car dealership, that's not outrageous to have 70%. But in the used car industry, people will go wherever the car is. If Bob wants a Tacoma truck and he sees one over at Pete Moore, he'll buy it from Pete Moore because it just happens to be there. Our customers are different. Our customers, once they bought a car from us, they come back and they'll buy another one from us, even if it's not on the lot at that time. I've got about 15 customers right now that we're doing locates for that say, hey, Ivan, I know where the cars are, but I'm going to wait for you to find me one. And I want to get a bargain on it. I want to make sure that you inspect it. I want to make sure that it's a non-smoker. I want to make sure I've got no issues with it. So these people wait for us to get the vehicle they're looking for. And it might take a week or 2 or 3, depending on how specific they are. But it really is a feather in our cap that we can have 70% of our customers. I'm not even sure why I'm doing this radio show anymore, Don. I don't need to advertise.
Don't talk like that.
Well, one reason is because in Pensacola, there's a lot of turnover, right, with the military.
Well, I personally happened to buy a car from you because I heard you on the radio, so I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, that's so funny, Don. What is it, going on 20 years now? I remember when you had dark hair.
Yeah, that's true. That was a good ways back. Yeah.
That was a good ways back, yeah. So anyways, I get off track a little bit like I always do, but really, when there's a dealer here in Pensacola, folks, take advantage of us. What I mean by that is that we were not going to get mad if you found a car somewhere else. The last time I counted, there were like 120 dealers in Pensacola. There were 17 new car dealerships, and there's a bunch of used ones. And based on that, we know we're not going to sell everybody a car, but we want to help you make sure you get a good deal. We want to do the Carfax report for you at no charge, which costs almost $50 these days to buy a Carfax. We do them at no charge for any customer that just calls us with an ID number. And also when we do that, our computer also spits out an average selling price to make sure that when you found that car that your neighbor's selling, that I can do the history report for you and tell you what you should pay for that car. A lot of times with having 400 cars in stock, we might have the twin to that car right on our lot where I can look it up and say, hey, I got that 2016 Chevy Impala for sale for $15,000. Your neighbor's asking $17,000. Why not tell them you can buy one at Frontier for $15,000 and get them to drop the price of that? That way you can still buy it from your neighbor, you can still be a hero, and you still don't pay too much. And that's what it's all about, is to let the people out there in the Pensacola area know that there's a dealership that's actually willing to do something with nothing for nothing and not make you feel guilty that you're not doing business with them. And the reason we do this is because we know that car you're going to buy today is not the last car. If you buy a car today and the average life expectancy of a car is 11 years, then in 11 years, we're going to get your business. And that's what it's all about, is to get your business either today or in the future. It doesn't really matter. Free advice, Frontier Motors. Check out our website. Check us on YouTube. Check us on Facebook. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay. Come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier. We've got the right price. Frontier. We'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors. Low overhead country.